Hello, so this series of lectures will attempt very quickly to explain the trigonometry that you need for calculus. So first, to understand trigonometry, which is in fact a very easy subject, let's begin with lecture 0, which is motivation. Suppose that you are interested in measuring some very large pole. So the pole might be stuck from the ground and perpendicular to the ground. That's for simplicity, that's where we start. And this pole is too long for practical purposes to be measured directly, or too inaccessible for practical purposes to be measured directly. So what can you try doing? Well, to understand this, the length of this huge pole, you might try to construct another very small pole and somehow relate that very small pole that you can measure directly with a ruler to the very large pole, which you cannot measure directly with a ruler. So how might you do that? Well, first you might try to construct a very primitive instrument. So that primitive instrument consists of a pipe, and that pipe might be pretty short or long, it's up to you. And this pipe maybe has a hole in it, so you can look through the pipe from where you're standing to the tip of the pole. Now, this pipe also has this attachment or compass, and that compass measures how far apart from the horizontal is this pipe, like that. So it's going to measure the angle. That's where the notion of angle becomes important. So all that compass is just some sort of circular arc with equidistant markings on that arc. So then what you do is you look with your eye through the pipe until the pipe is aligned with the tip of the pole. You mark the angle. It's going to be some number, just how many notches on this arc have you traveled up. And that's going to be marked by the angle theta. Once this is done, you can now extend a rope. And by gravity, this rope is going to be perpendicular to the ground. That rope that is extended from the tip of the pipe to the ground is going to be your little y. Now, having connected the bottom of this rope to the base of the pipe, you now have little x and little y. And as you can see in this picture, we have constructed a small triangle. That small triangle is an exact replica of the big triangle. It is a scaled down version of that big triangle. Now, how are those two triangles related? Well, the scaled down version of the triangle has the same proportions as the big triangle. So what does it mean? It means that if I measure this big X and divide it by the little x, I should get the same as measuring the length of big Y dividing by little y. Again, about proportion. So what does it mean? Little y, say it is 1/3 of big Y. If that is the case, little x must also be 1/3 of big X. Therefore, this proportion must hold. So there exists some sort of number. Maybe it is 2, maybe it is 3, maybe it is 5, maybe it is a fraction. But there exists a number such that big Y over little y is equal to big X over little x, which is equal to that number. That is the number by which this small model is a scale down of the big model. And that tells us that big Y is equal to little c times little y. In other words, what I can then do is I can measure this horizontal length big X, and I can measure this small horizontal length small x. And there I can compute big X over little x to obtain the constant of proportionality, to obtain the number by which little y must be scaled up to obtain big Y. And that's how we can figure out big Y. That is in essence the basis of trigonometry. It comes from the need for surveying.